Okay, so the objective of our lesson is I can solve a quadratic by factoring and setting the factors equal to 0. And just some quick vocabulary, we have a trinomial, and that is a polynomial that consists of 3 terms, and again, the tri and then the 3. So just some quick reminders. We're going to go over how to factor a trinomial with a leading coefficient a equals 1. So remember that means that the leading coefficient is always the number that's in front of the variable with the highest exponent power. So that one here is 1 because we don't have one. But 1 times x squared is x squared, so we don't write it usually. Anyway, when we have a problem like this, the idea is that we would still do the same process if it was not equal to 1. But because of the way that these problems always work out is that you can draw 2 parentheses, they each have x in them, and you want 2 numbers that just multiply to positive 4, and then they add to negative 4. And those numbers come from the negative 4 here, and then the positive 4 here. And this step is technically how you can just say that it's going to be negative 2 times negative 2, and then negative 2 plus negative 2, and then it'll be x minus 2 times x minus 2. But if we want to do it out, it'll be x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. And then we'd factor out an x. We'd have x minus 2 times x minus 2. And then we'd factor out one of the x minus 2's here. Okay, so here we have to factor a trinomial with a coefficient a greater than 1. So the way we're going to do this is, in this process, we have to multiply 3 and 4 together. This is the idea where we have a quadratic with ax squared plus bx plus c in standard form. And so the quadratics in standard form is what I'm trying to say now. I know that's not always what I'm saying. And we call this the AC method, where you multiply a and c together. So it becomes acx squared. And then again, you think of 2 numbers that multiply to ac and then add to b. So it's that same process. So it's going to be 3 is a, so it's going to be 3 times 4, that's going to be 12x squared. So we want 2 numbers that multiply to 12 and add to negative 8. So those numbers will be negative 6. I don't know what's going on here. I keep trying to change colors. Times negative 2. So negative 6 plus negative 2. So then we rewrite the negative 8x with these terms. So we have 3x squared. And always rewrite it with the number that lines up better. So the number that has a factor with the previous term. Don't do 3x squared minus 2x minus 6, because you're not really going to help yourself. So it's going to be minus 2x plus 4. So then we will factor out a 3x here. And I'm going to draw this with a different color. Okay. So we have x minus 2, and then we're going to factor out a negative 2 here, and it's going to be x minus 2. And now we'll factor out an x minus 2, and we'll have 3x minus 2. So that's how we factor a trinomial where a is not equal to 1. All right, so we're going to follow the same steps for number 2. So we're going to first bring variables and... Why did I write exponents? My goodness. Variables and constants to one side. So we're going to have 2x squared plus 6x minus 80 equals 0. And then we're going, so we just did this part. Now we're going to factor. Try and change color, and I'm just writing on the board. Okay, so we multiply these two together using the AC method. So we get negative 160x squared. So I need two numbers that multiply to negative 160, and then they're going to add to 6. And it's kind of easy to see. It's going to be positive 16 and negative 10. So I'm going to do 2x. So it's going to be positive 16 and negative 10 because that'll add to 6. And then they're going to multiply to negative 160. So we're going to do 2x squared minus 10x plus 16x minus 80 equals 0. Then we're going to factor out a 2x here. We're going to have x minus 5 plus 16 times x minus 5 equals 0. So then you have 2x plus 16 times x minus 5 equals 0. What I like about factoring and solving is that you actually don't need to worry about writing equals because you usually do it like this equals this, and it goes usually over here, but now you always just have it set equal to 0, so you just keep rewriting that. So now you use this, so now we just did this part, and now we use the zero product property. So we have 2x plus 16 equals 0. Then we have x minus 5 equals 0. So we minus 16 from both sides here. We get 2x equals negative 16. Divide both sides by 2. We get x equals negative 8. Then here we add 5 to both sides, and we get x equals 5. So that's when we use the zero product property. And that's it. Okay, so here we have 4w squared minus 10w. Okay, what am I talking about? We have 4w squared equals negative 10w. That's how you know I really want to get this video done. Okay, so we're first going to bring everything to one side. So I'm going to add 10w to both sides here. So I'll have 4w squared plus 10w equals 0. So we just brought everything to one side. Now we're going to factor. We're going to factor out a w. We'll have 4. We're going to factor out a 2w, sorry. So we'll have 2w plus 5 equals 0. So we just factored, and now we use the zero product property. 2w equals 0, or 2w plus 5 equals 0. If 2w equals 0, we divide both sides by 2, we get w equals 0. If 2w minus 5 equals 0, we minus 5 from both sides, we get 2w equals negative 5. Divide both sides by 2, we get w equals negative 5 halves. So the quadratic equals 0, or the quadratic equals negative 5 halves. Here we have 5p squared equals 4 plus p. So first, bring everything to one side. So I'm going to minus 4, I'm going to minus p. I'll have 5p squared minus p minus 4 equals 0. Multiply both of these together. We get negative 20p squared. So this part we're going to factor now. We just did the first part. So we need two numbers that multiply to negative 20 and then add to negative 1. Well, negative 5, positive 4. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. So we rewrite this as 5p squared minus 5p plus 4p minus 4 equals 0. If we factor out 5p from this part, and we're going to factor out something from this part, then we have p minus 1 plus 4. We factor out the 4 times p minus 1 equals 0. So we get 5p plus 4 times p minus 1 equals 0. So p equals 1 or p equals negative 4/5. That's from 5p plus 4 equals 0. Negative 4 equals 5p. P is negative 4/5. Okay, so after this part of the lesson, you should be able to solve quadratic equations by factoring first.